Hello, it's Martin here again. Welcome to another episode of converting Larry the Landy into an Overland camper. So it's a bright, frosty, cold Boxing Day, and I've been allowed out to play on the Land Rover again after Christmas. So all the outside bits are done now, well, putting in the windows and things like that. The only things that I've got to come through from the outside now are things like the water inlets, the place for the mains electric to go in, and a vent for the kitchen area to get an airflow in the kitchen. But those are things that I can do once I've insulated and put the skin on and I'm starting the rest of the build. So today what I'm going to start on is the insulation. Now, when you're fitting out a van, you've got to try and think about what things you need to do first and what things you're going to do next. Now, sometimes there's a choice as to what you're going to do. Now, in theory, for example, putting the windows in, it would be better if you put the windows in after you've done the insulation and the boarding out, because then the holes all the way through all match up, and it's easier to do that. But at the same time, you've got to work out exactly where the main cross beams are and things like that. So in this case, it was easier to put the windows in first to get them right with the cross beams and do the insulation and the boarding after that. The other thing is what you're going to do about the order that you board out the sides. So I could do this, do the insulation, put the boarding on the sides, then put the roof and the floor in. But because then the roof would overlap the flooring like that. The roof would overlap the upright sides like that, and the floor would be the same. Or do you do the roof in and the floor, and then put the sides in so that the sides are free to come off at any time? So I've actually decided that I'm going to do that, in that if you're going to have to do work on the outside of the van, and you've got to take everything out from the inside, then it's better to be able to get those sides off easier. And why would you do that? Well, I had a van that I used to hire out, and some divot managed to do a big gouge up the side of the van by driving ridiculously. And because when it went to the garage to have a new side put on, I had to take everything out from that side. I had to take out all the kitchen, the bathroom. I had to take off all the inner paneling, take out all the insulation so that the bare metal was available for them to weld around. Now, I know this is an aluminium sided van, so it's slightly different, but the chances are that if there's anything that I need to work from the outside and the inside at the same time, it's more likely to be the sides than it is the floor or the roof. And so I'm building it so that the sides are the easiest thing to take off. So what I'm going to do first of all, though, however, is do it the other way around as far as the insulation is concerned. I'm going to start with the side insulation, and I'll show you why. You can see that there's a gap between the floor and the wall. And if you look down there, oh look, you can see daylight down there. Now, what I want to do is put the insulation down and beyond the flooring, down almost to the bottom there. What I'm not going to do is do anything about those holes. And the reason for that is that you actually want somewhere for the water to get out. No matter how hard you try to keep condensation out of a van, you will always get condensation, and it is going to end up going down the walls and ending up at the lowest point. And you want it to get out, because if it just sits there, if it sat, what you've got is aluminium sides here, but that's a steel part right across the bottom there, that will just rot away, as it has done partly already. So what I'm going to do is just put the insulation down almost to the bottom, see how it goes. It may drop right down to the bottom, but certainly these air gaps here will remain. That will keep it aired and will allow the water to come out, so that there is somewhere, rather than it all just puddling up, and in the end it adds to your condensation. So this is the back of my existing van, and this is a really handy place for me to store the closed cell insulation, and I've got the 5mm, or sorry, I think it's the 3.6mm plywood for the walls and ceiling, and there's that OSB board there for the flooring and for building things like the bathroom wall. Okay, and it's really handy to store this in here because there's these are 8 foot by 4 foot sheets, and there's 2 lots, so there's another lot further down the van, and that's all fitted in. Just what I won't have in the Land Rover is what I've got in here, which is space for a motorbike. But never mind, it'll have other attributes. So this closed cell, what you might call Kingspan or Celotex, that type of thing, is what I'm going to be using. It's 40mm for the sides and the roof, and 25mm for the flooring. So let's get started. And then what I've done is put in wooden subframes in the places where I need to screw things through for them to be solid. So like for example here, this is going to be the height of the kitchen's work surface and the end of the kitchen, either end there. So it means that I'm not just screwing into insulation or into 3.6mm plywood, but I've got something solid to attach to. Here, that's going to be the wall for the bathroom, and similarly up on the roof there, the wall will go up to there. So I've got something solid to go on to. So now, how do you actually work out how much insulation you need, and how are you going to cut it to get the most efficient use of that? And so there is a website called opticutter.com, and what you do, you feed in the size of your stock. So in this case, 240 by 120 centimeters, and then you put in all the measurements of all the things. You've sort of measured up what the sizes are of the boards that you want to do, and then it works it all out for you as to how many sheets you need, and the best way to cut them so that you use up the least, or you create the least amount of waste. And that's really helpful, knowing that you've got the right amount of boards to start with, and that you're not wasting it, because there's nothing worse than you wanting a bit on the ceiling and you find out that it's just 2 centimeters shorter than you need, and that's a wasted bit of board. So I've got several sheets because I've done it for the insulation, I've done it for the paneling, the wood paneling, and I've done it for the flooring, and I've even done it for cutting up foam for the sofa and the bed and the seating and all that sort of thing. So I know exactly how much I need and how I'm going to cut it. Now, rather handily today, there's not a lot of wind, so it can really blow up the side of the house here. So I'm able to work outside. Got the Celotex up on some milk crates just to get it above ground a little bit. And as you can see, it is marked out in squares, which makes it a little bit easier for cutting, because I think they're 10 centimeter squares. But also what I've got here, this is actually a bed end from a discarded bed that my daughter had at some point, but it's really handy because it's a nice steel right angle at both ends, and so I use this as my sort of set square for drawing lines on big stuff. So I've marked up my first cut, which is actually 49.5 centimeters. So there's my line there, and I've got a cut along that. So of all the things for cutting sellotapes, I found that the best thing is to use a just a carving knife like this, or a bread knife. I've tried jigsaws and carving, electric carving knives, but the best thing is to use this, and it just slices through. So that's the first bit of insulation in. It's an interference fit, so that it's nice and tight. It just, squeezes in between the brackets there, between the uprights and the horizontals, and then there'll be foil tape all the way around to stop damp air getting through. But that's the first bit cut. Got to keep on going all the way around the van until everywhere is insulated. So I put in the piece behind now, and the bit down the curtain side there, as you can see, I've had to do it in 4 bits, and that's because you can't flex this stuff, so you to slide it into the areas like this and down there, you've got to break it up. So what I need to do now is just foil tape those seams so that it's all one piece again. So this is the foil tape. It's just paper-backed sticky tape. And so what I need to do is just cut a bit that's the right length. Peel off the backing. Line it up and pull the backing off. Just need to do the upright and that horizontal, and then that's done. So there we are, that's the seams taped together. And as I say, eventually, once I've got insulation in the boxing here, which will probably be like a recycled plastic, like loft insulation type stuff, that's wadding type stuff, then that will all be covered over with the tape as well. So this is the recycled bottle insulation stuff. So what I've done, I've cut it vertically in half down there so that you end up a piece like this. And then I've folded it and fed it into the box section, top and bottom. So I've done that on the top. I've got to do this on the low rail there, and then I'm going to see whether I can get some tape over, because everything else is now taped around. So that's the mid-rail insulation behind the tape. Unfortunately, the tape wasn't quite wide enough to hit both sides, so I've had to do a top layer and a bottom layer and join them together, which is a shame because that means you're using twice as much tape. But it does need to all be nice and airtight right the way across so that damp can't get into that insulation. So just got to do the same now for the bottom rail. I've now done the portion that's by the window, and I've just got to put in the bottle insulation in this bit here, and then up the top here, behind this plate here was only about 25 mil, so I've put in the thinner insulation behind it, and then I've filled up to it with the thicker insulation. So what I've got to do now is put a piece of wood on here that's about 12 mil thick, so that it just takes up the space, so that the whole thing, when I put up the ply lining, it will be flat all the way up. I've also put bottle insulation in this little bit here, and the ply and the I'm going to do it with some OSB board that'll go right up to that point there, and that's where the ceiling boards will overlap. So just got to do that, tape it all, fill this in, and then I've done one complete side. Okay, so the side is completed now, and I've got this OSB up here just to take up the thickness so that it's the same all the way down. And then I've also done exactly the same on the other side. That's all done now. And I've done all the back as well, which is really quite fiddly because there's lots of little bits of channeling and whatnot that needed to be filled in. So that's all been done, and it's all been foil taped up as well to make it all nice and airtight. So tricky bits to do now in the junction between the luton and the sides, the luton itself, and all the roof. So still plenty to get on with, but it's coming along. So I've done the front corners now, and I've made a start on the ceiling. So in this little recess here, I filled that with the recycled bottle insulation, and then in these ribs here, it's 25mm insulation filling there and in there, and obviously on the other side. And then these are again cut to size, so it's an interference fit, so it's just staying up there by itself at the moment. I think what I will do, just before I put the ply right across, I'll actually use like a silicon sealant glue to glue these to this aluminium here to stop it booming about when you're driving along. So I've done 1, 2 of those. I've got to do a third bit that's split across there, 4th, 5th and 6th, and then that's the main part of the cab done. It's just then the luton part, which is going to be a bit fiddly because it's triangles and things, but I need to do that after I've done the rest. Okay, so I've got all the insulation in the roof now, and that includes pieces all the way filling in the metal channel and tucked in on either side of the channel as well. And then to make up this gap here, I've put the OSB board on, so that now you've got a nice level all the way through for when, and it's somewhere nice and easy to screw the ply ceiling onto. So just got to finish that one piece there and fill that in with the OSB board, then tape up all the joints so that damp air can't get in through these cracks here, and then it'll be ready to ply. And I think I'm going to ply the ceiling first before I go into the luton part over the cab and fill that in with the insulation. But otherwise, looking quite good now with the insulation. So there we are, that's the luton all insulated out, and you can see that I've also made a start on the ply lining, but that's another video.